Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026. And I have to be honest with you, right off the bat, usually when I sit down to prep for these, I'm looking for, those fun aha moments, those little nuggets.
Yeah.
But looking at the stack of intelligence reports and source materials today, I've got a genuine knot in my stomach.
It's a heavy stack today. There's no way around it.
It just feels different. We
Yeah.
usually say we're going to unpack a topic, but today it really feels like we're trying to defuse a bomb before the timer hits zero.
Yeah,
I mean, the sources, they're pretty much unanimous on this one, really chilling assessment about the Middle East,
they are.
that it's no longer a question of if a major war with Iran is coming.
It's just a question of when.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the headline, but you're saying if you look closer, it's actually more complex.
It is, because we're looking at this singular moment where two massive geopolitical timelines are just crashing into each other. On one side, you have the Iranian timeline, which looks like it's about to hit a violent crescendo. We're talking weeks, maybe even days.
And on the other,
And on the other, just yesterday, we saw the official final closure of the hostage crisis in Gaza.
right, and we have to cover both, because
Yeah.
the argument in these documents is that they are so intimately connected. You can't understand one without the other.
Exactly. The whole mission for this deep dive is to understand how clearing the deck in Gaza is basically the strategic prerequisite for the storm that's gathering with Iran.
So let's start with that big one, the when, not if scenario. The atmosphere feels, it feels inevitable. What's changed in just the last few weeks?
It's a combination of capability, opportunity, and rhetoric. The intelligence suggests that Israel and the U.S. are essentially moving their final chess pieces into place.
The board is set.
The board is set. But then you look at the language coming from Iran's proxies, it isn't just bluster anymore.
No, it's apocalyptic.
It is. You have the head of Kataib Hezbollah in Iraq explicitly stating he would personally carry out a suicide mission if war breaks out.
That really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
That's not a general in a bunker. That's a leader saying he's going to strap a vest on. That sounds like desperation.
It is desperation, but it's also a signal of how final this has become for them.
Yeah.
Inside Israel, the conversation has shifted completely. The debate isn't whether to fight, it's how.
So they're split.
Fiercely. If you look at the Israeli security establishment right now, it's broken into three distinct camps, all fighting for influence.
Okay, so let's break those down. The first camp.
Camp 1 is looking back at the 12-day war of 2025.
Right. Just to refresh for everyone, that was the conflict that was supposed to end the regime, but it just sort of fizzled out.
Precisely. The regime survived. So Camp 1 is saying, we have unfinished business. Let's finish the target set we left standing last year.
So a clean up the mess approach.
Exactly. Go back, hit the things they missed.
Okay, so that's the finish the job camp. Who's opposing them?
That would be Camp 2. The cautious ones. They say, hold fire, wait. Only respond if they hit us directly.
Why? What's their logic?
It's all about international legitimacy. They want to maintain the moral high ground, They're terrified of being seen as the aggressor.
Which brings us to Camp 3. And from the sounds of it, this is where all the momentum is.
It is. This is the all-in camp. This is the group arguing for a fully coordinated joint campaign with the United States.
So they want to open up the map with the Pentagon and just
Divide the target bank.
which is military speak for the list of things you want to blow up.
Essentially, yes. It's a
Yeah.
list of assets. And the logic is, you take these silos, we take these nuclear sites, maximum impact, shared risk.
And the Israeli public, they seem to be on board with
The
this.
numbers from the INSS survey are pretty clear.
I saw those. 45% of the general population supports a proactive strike.
And that number jumps to 51% if you look just at the Jewish public. But here's the most telling stat. It isn't about support, it's about expectation.
Right. 62.5% believe fighting will happen within 6 months.
Within 6 months, so nearly 2/3 of the country thinks war is coming by summer.
And that explains the preparedness levels we're seeing. The sources mention airports and hospitals are on standby.
Oh, absolutely. This isn't theoretical for them. Hospitals are ready to switch to emergency protocols instantly, moving patients underground. The IDF is on high alert for airspace closures.
You know what's coming.
They know that once this starts, it'll be ballistic barrages aimed right at Tel Aviv.
So, okay, let's talk about how this actually kicks off. You mentioned Brigadier General Amir Avivi. He outlined 3 ways this could play out.
He did. And I think these are the key for everyone listening to understand what to watch for. Scenario 1 is the worst case for Israel, a preemptive Iranian attack.
So this is Iran seeing the writing on the wall, the U.S. armada, Israel ready, and just deciding to punch first.
Exactly. Use it or lose it. They launch a massive barrage of ballistic missiles trying to overwhelm Iron Dome and the aero systems before Israel can even mobilize.
That sounds chaotic. What's scenario 2?
An Israeli preemptive attack. So this is Israel deciding they just can't wait for the U.S. to get every single ship in position.
But that's incredibly risky, isn't it? To go it alone.
That's the big criticism. It degrades the threat, sure, but it guarantees a war that Israel might have to fight largely by itself in those crucial opening hours.
Which is why scenario 3 is the one that seems to be the favorite.
It's the one the all-in camp wants, the U.S.-led attack.
The optimal scenario, as they call it.
Correct. For Jerusalem, this is it. The U.S. leads a decisive strike on the regime itself, with Israel in a support role.
And the logic is just hit them so hard and fast they can't hit back.
You blind them and break their knees in the first hour. That's the idea.
So where does the Trump administration fit into all this? Because reading the sources, it's classic Trump.
It's very reminiscent of his tactics before the 12-day war. On one hand, he says he's open for business, ready to talk.
But on the other hand, he's moved a massive armada, the USS Abraham Lincoln, into the Gulf.
A big flotilla, as he calls it.
But the terms for these talks, I mean, they're not really terms for negotiation, are they? They look like terms of surrender.
They are absolute non-starters, and Trump knows it. He's demanding 3 things.
Remove all enriched uranium.
No long-range missiles.
And end all support for proxy groups.
Right.
Which is like asking them to stop being Iran. Their entire foreign policy doctrine is built on those proxies.
Exactly. So by proposing impossible terms, he's signaling that diplomacy is dead. It's diplomacy with a gun to the head. But there's a new element here, too.
The Venezuela model.
The Venezuela model. A naval blockade.
How does that even work in the Persian Gulf? That sounds aggressive.
It is. The idea is to physically choke off Iran's oil exports. Just stop the tankers at sea, cut off the cash flow entirely.
Isn't that an act of war?
Technically, yes. But the calculation is that Iran is just too weak to stop it. And this is where it gets really interesting, because internally, the data shows they are already crumbling.
This was the part of the research that really blew my mind. We focus so much on the missiles, but the New York Times is reporting the regime is at its weakest point since 1979.
It's a complete collapse from within. The economic numbers are staggering. Inflation is at 60% point to point.
Can you just explain point to point for us?
It means if you bought a basket of goods today, it costs 60% more than it did exactly 1 year ago. But even that number hides the real pain.
The food numbers.
The food numbers. 89.9% inflation on food and beverages.
I mean, just imagine your grocery bill basically doubling in a year. People were starving.
And the government solution, just print more money. The central bank printed 2 quadrillion reals.
2 quadrillion? That doesn't even sound like a real number.
It's a number with a lot of zeros. It works out to about 1.36 billion US dollars, just created out of thin air to bail out banks.
That's an economic death spiral. You're just fueling the fire.
The currency becomes worthless.
Yeah.
And the people are not taking it sitting down. The HRNI reports on the protests, they're just heartbreaking.
The death toll estimates are over 23,000 people.
23,000.
That's not a protest crackdown. That's a civil war.
It's a massacre. Confirmed deaths are over 6,000, including 86 children. They've arrested more than 41,000 people.
And they've turned off the internet to hide it.
Exactly. They are terrified of the world seeing the true scale of the violence.
So, connecting this all back to the war scenarios, General Avivi seems to think an external strike could be the spark for an internal revolution.
That's the so what here. The theory is that the Iranian people are just waiting for a crack in the regime's armor.
So if the U.S. or Israel takes out some key leadership,
if they hit them hard enough, it could give the people the window they need to topple the Ayatollahs from the inside.
It's a high-stakes gamble, though.
It is. But the regime has never been this fragile. Hungry people are dangerous people for a dictator.
Okay, so you have the East on the brink of explosion.
Yeah.
Now let's pivot south, because while all this is building, something truly historic happened yesterday in Gaza.
Yesterday, the impossible happened. That's the quote from one of the reports.
They found him, Master's Great Ranjavili, the last hostage.
843 days. That's how long his family waited in that limbo.
And the details of the recovery, they're just incredible. They found him in a Muslim cemetery in eastern Gaza City.
Right, inside the yellow line.
Which means what exactly?
The yellow line is the perimeter of Israeli military control. So he was right under their noses, in an area they supposedly controlled.
But the key detail, the one that matters for intelligence, is what he was wrapped in.
A Shifa hospital body bag.
branded with the logo of Gaza's largest hospital.
It's just more damning physical proof linking the civil infrastructure there directly to the hostage-taking apparatus.
Unbelievable. And they had to check 250 bodies to find him.
Still in his uniform?
And the symbolism of this moment in Israel must be immense. President Herzog removing his hostage pin, the countdown clock in Tel Aviv finally stopping.
It's the end of an era of agony. For the first time since 2014, there are no Israeli hostages living or dead in Gaza. Total accountability. Everyone is home.
But, and here's the strategic shift we talked about. Netanyahu immediately said this is just the beginning of the next phase.
Right. This connects directly back to Iran. As long as there were hostages, Israel had to operate with restraint. You couldn't just bomb indiscriminately. It was a tactical straitjacket.
And now?
Now the straitjacket is off completely. The objective has shifted to the total demilitarization of Gaza. Netanyahu says Hamas still has something like 60,000 AK-47s.
60,000 after 2 years of intense fighting. How is that possible?
It's a massive arsenal cached everywhere, and this is where the new incentive plan comes in. It's a fascinating approach.
Break that down for me. How do you get them to give up their guns?
You don't ask the terrorists, you ask the people. The proposal is essentially a trade. You want to rebuild your neighborhood, hand over 5,000 rifles, or give us a map to a tunnel network.
It's guns for concrete.
Essentially, they're trying to turn the population against the leadership's hoarding of weapons, a house or a Kalashnikov. You choose.
And to make sure those guns aren't just replaced, they're changing the rules of the borders.
Israel has locked down the Philadelphia corridor. But the big change is at the Rafah crossing with Egypt. It's open for people to leave, but no goods go in through Rafah anymore.
Why close it to goods?
To stop the smuggling. All goods now have to go through Kerem Shalom from Israel, where they can inspect every single truck. They're choking off the supply routes.
It's a strategy of squeezing them into smaller and smaller boxes.
Exactly. The choice is simple. Surrender, or, as Avivi put it, systematic destruction.
And diplomatically, this is where Trump's Board of Peace comes in. What is that exactly? An alternative to the UN?
That's the idea. Trump has been very critical of the UN, especially UNRWA, so he's building this new coalition to handle the post-war reality. It involves allies, but also Turkey and Qatar.
Wait, Qatar? The sources call Qatar a double agent? Why would you include them?
For their money. Someone has to pay for reconstruction. But Israel has drawn a very hard red line here.
Which is?
They're fine with Qatar writing the checks, but they will not allow Qatari or Turkish troops on the ground in Gaza, period.
Because they just don't trust them.
They see Qatar as the bank that funded Hamas for years. They see them as complicit.
Thank for the check, but stay out of the building.
Exactly.
So let's zoom out and put this all together. What does this mean for the next few weeks? You've got the southern front in Gaza being systematically cleaned up.
Right. Hostages home, borders sealed.
And on the eastern front, you have an armada arriving and a regime teetering on the edge of collapse.
It means the deck is being cleared. The U.S. and Israel have decided the distraction in Gaza is over. They've freed up their military resources and their political capital to focus on the main event.
Iran.
The source material paints a picture of a synchronized pincer movement. Squeeze the proxies in Gaza, squeeze the economy in Tehran, position the military, and then you just wait for the spark.
It's terrifying, but there's also a sense of resolution. Like the status quo is finally breaking.
It is. We are watching the end of the war of attrition and the beginning of a war of decision. The map of the Middle East is about to change, one way or another.
Well, that is a sobering thought to end on. But here's the question I want to leave with you. We talked about that internal collapse in Iran, 89% food inflation, protests. If the U.S. and Israel initiate this decisive strike, will the Iranian people actually rise up and take their country back? Or will the regime, knowing it's dying, just decide to burn the whole house down with them? Will the ring of fire Hezbollah, the Houthis, set the entire region ablaze before the regime falls?
That is the gamble of the century, and we're about to find out if it pays off.
We'll be watching closely. Stay safe, stay informed. We'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.